right, our webinar is now live, but I'm going to... So good morning, everyone. My name's David. I'm an engineer, which means I help people in our communities to solve problems, often using maths and science. And one of the problems that I'm really excited to help our communities with is providing energy or electricity. So the electricity that runs the lights and the computers and your phone. And as we move forward, perhaps things like your cars with electric cars. So I'm an engineer, but it's not just engineers that help with these things. It takes lots of different people. And I work for an organisation where our job is to try and help kids like yourselves understand what you can do when you grow up in terms of jobs and careers to help your communities and things like energy. So today we've got two young university students who are, like me, studying to start work in this area of energy for our homes and schools and communities. So we're going to talk to Diana and Abhishek today to see what they're doing and why they think it's a really fun and exciting thing to do. So first off, we'll talk to Diana. So Diana, hi, tell us a bit about yourself and yeah, why do you think kids should look at a bright future in the energy space?
Okay, so my name's Deanna. I live in South Australia, so I'm studying at UniSA. I'm doing a Bachelor of Maths, but I'm specializing in data science. So what that means is it's a lot of maths with programming kind of all put together. So we get lots and lots of information because, you know, in the world, there's all this data and information, and we look through that and just find answers to problems using that. So yeah, it's a lot of maths, which is definitely a big part of it, but it's not all that. It's a lot of problem solving. So even if maths isn't your best subject, if you enjoy it, that's really the most important thing with all of that. What else? A fun fact about myself. I have three sisters. All of us are interested in science, in STEM. I have a sister who's a teacher. And yeah.
So Diana, what do you think you might do when you finish your studies? Where do you want to see yourself working in the world?
Yeah, so I'm still figuring that out. It's a big question, of course. I'm thinking I'm going to be a data scientist. So a lot of companies need them now, like data scientists work in schools, in the energy sector, of course, all kinds of things like that.
Wonderful. And have you had any sort of work experience, done any jobs in your data science role so far as you've been at university?
Not in data science specifically. I've done work experience in other science fields and to do with engineering and that kind of thing, which it's all related, so it all helps, but I'm still learning about my degree. So.
Yeah. And what's some of the most exciting things that you've seen that you could be doing with data science?
That's interesting. I mean, because it's all kinds of things. So like speech recognition, I find really interesting. So when you're talking to your phones with Siri or Cortana or all of that, that's to do with data science because it's analyzing stuff. Or predicting what's going to be happening around Christmas time with sales in stores. So looking at which things might be more popular, which toys are going to be more popular at that time of year. So it's like all different things that I find really cool that we can do.
Fantastic. So yeah, lots of girls involved in STEM in your family, which is great. But as you say,
definitely.
Lots of different things that they're going to do, whether it's teaching or working on making our phones smarter and better able to hear and predict what we're going to do. Fantastic, thank you. Stick around, and I'll jump now to Abhishek. And yeah, Abhishek, tell us a bit about yourself and what you're studying and yeah, where you want to go with your STEM studies.
Hi, David. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Abhishek. I'm currently in Brisbane, Queensland, and I'm studying electrical engineering at the University of, at the Queensland University of Technology. My study is basically, if you look around you, you might see some lights. You might see that your teacher has their projector screen on. And you might be wondering, well, where is all this power coming from? And that's what I'm studying. I'm studying how we can make sure that all of these lights stay on all the time so that whenever you want power, it can be right there for you. It's an interesting challenge, and that's why I'm studying it.
Great. Now that's really true. Where does it all come from is a great question. So have you had any, real world experience, Abhishek, as an electrical engineer working in some of the companies that are out there?
Yeah. Thankfully, through this organization, the Australian Power Institute, I've had several experiences to do an internship or do a little bit of work, but it's mostly learning, working alongside people who are actually responsible for keeping the lights on. And that's really helped me understand a little bit more about how the maths I'm learning in my university study actually applies to the challenges that we face in the day-to-day life.
Great. All right. I'll jump back to you, Deanna, and I'll ask the same question of you in a moment, Abhishek. But when you were a kid at school, when you were, 7 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up? And then what I'm assuming you didn't want to be a data scientist, but what inspired you to start on the path that you're on, Deanna?
That's a really good question. I think I changed my mind pretty much every week what I wanted to do. I never really had any idea where I wanted to go. I always loved maths. It was always my favorite subject. I think I worked hardest at it, which definitely helped as well. I wanted to be a teacher for a while when I was younger, which is interesting. I ended up focusing more on I want to be doing more of the maths and the research myself. But the thing with STEM degrees is that if I get my Bachelor of Maths in a couple of years' time, I can work with that. And then if later on I decide I want to change my mind, you can do so many things with it. So I could still do that later if I wanted to. I could still teach what I'm learning now. So.
Great, thank you. So Abhishek, what about you? What did you want to be when you were 7 years old, and what inspired you to, become an electrical engineer?
So when I was a kid, I loved playing with Lego. Lego was my favorite thing, and I would never ever obey the instructions on the Lego kit. I would always mix and match different kits together and try and make Transformers robots and different cars that looked really cool. And so very early on, I used to try and draw cars, and I found out that the people who design cars are called automobile engineers. And I thought, well, I want to be someone who makes the coolest car ever. And as I grew up, I started to see that actually building the coolest car ever is pretty cool, but there are other cool challenges out there that are a little more that little more impactful for everyone in our world. And energy is a really important resource that everyone should have reliably. So I thought that's a really interesting challenge, and that's part of why I have chosen to do electrical engineering at university.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a great point of, what is the impact that we can have on our community? So Dan, I suppose a question for you there. What impact do you think people working in your type of area of data science, what impact can they have on our communities? You mentioned Siri and shopping and stuff like that earlier, but what sort of impact do you think working in the data science space can have?
Well, a lot of it is about the problem solving and the finding answers to questions, and kind of when there's just too much going on and you have to figure out what's the next step, like with businesses and stuff. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm still learning about it myself as well, but just helping things run more smoothly and making the best decisions that you can.
That's a good impact to have, is to help understand what are the best things to be doing. A question for you, Deanna, is What do you think are some of the important skills or abilities that you need? Now, you mentioned before, you know, you loved maths, and being good at maths is great for data science, but there are other qualities that you need. So what are some of those things that, you know, are good for your type of work?
Yeah, definitely. So problem solving is a big one, but as I said, I do like maths, but I'm also a huge bookworm. I am always reading. I loved English in school, writing essays and doing all the readers in primary school and all of that stuff. And I think that even though that's not directly what I'm doing now, it's still helpful because learning how to focus on things and analyzing and just being able to look at something and think, what does this mean? Like, what can we learn from it? That kind of stuff's really important for data science for what I'm doing now.
Fantastic. So curiosity in a
Yes.
way. Yeah. What about you, Abhishek? What do you think some of the skills and attributes or qualities that would you need to be a great electrical engineer?
Sometimes when I'm listening in my lectures, I feel that not being bored is a very good skill to have because sometimes my teacher can keep going on and on and on, and sometimes I don't even know what I'm learning. But at the end of the day, when exam time comes, I have to learn everything anyway. So one great skill to have being an engineer is to keep trying. If you don't understand it the first time, like you might not understand what you're learning at school right now, that's okay. But don't give up, because I find it hard to understand everything the first time around too. But I try my best to keep going. And if I don't understand something, to ask good questions, because there are people who know more than me, and it's always good to ask questions to these people so you can learn and understand more.
Fantastic. Yeah. Don't give up and ask questions. Great advice. And that's, I suppose, we'll close out with that now. So Deanna, jump back to you. My question is, what advice would you give 7-year-old yourself, or what advice would you give kids who are watching this now who are interested in this idea of STEM careers? So science, technology, engineering, mathematics. If it's something that interests them, what advice would you give to them?
My best advice is probably just keep asking questions, keep seeing what's out there. I didn't even know data science existed till about 2 years ago. But I did a lot of excursions, a lot of work experience and different things at school. So when opportunities come up, don't be scared to say yes, even if you don't know if other people are doing it or not. You don't know, you might end up really liking it. You might end up learning something new exists. You might find out you don't like it, and that's cool too. That's important to know if you don't want to do something as well. But it's just, there's so many things out there. So be brave and just put your hand up for anything you can, and take as many opportunities as are given to you.
Great advice. Yeah. And what about you, Abhishek? What's your advice to 7-year-old yourself or other kids listening today? What would you say to them if they're interested in a career with science and technology and
Yeah,
engineering and maths and
thanks, David.
creativity? Yeah. What's your
I would agree with Deanna. Try everything out. School is a great time to give a go at anything. It could be at sport, or it could be at painting. It doesn't matter what everyone else thinks. Give it a go and see how it works. Because you know what, the most important inventions and innovations that have happened in science and technology have been because someone has thought outside the box, and that comes from knowledge from a totally different field. Now, for example, if you look at your shoes, maybe your shoes don't have laces. They might just strap on, and we call that Velcro. So the way that Velcro was invented was because someone went out on a walk and you notice that there's all these little bits of a plant sticking to them while they're walking. And you notice that his dog was entirely covered with it. And he thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if we used the same hooking thing that's sticking to my pants and my dog, and used it to make things stick together? And that's what we call Velcro now. So I'd probably say creativity and curiosity. Try different things. School is a great opportunity to give everything a go.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Deanna. Thank you, Abhishek. That's really great advice, and I hope it's helped our students who are involved in the Day in the Life program. I hope this has helped you to get a bit of a sense of where you can go with a career or a job using your interest and excitement for science and maths and creativity and STEM. So good luck with doing the Day in the Life activities, and we hope we see you sometime soon more involved in STEM careers in the future. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. So I thought I'd just quickly explain a little bit about some of the things I've gotten to do while I've been studying my degree at university. One of the things has been helping save bananas. There's a very bad disease that affects a lot of the bananas in the Queensland and New South Wales region, which is actually the place in Australia that is making the most amount of bananas. And if this disease gets to all the bananas there, it would be very, very bad for the farmers, and we wouldn't have any bananas from Australia anymore. So what I did with my supervisors and my team was we looked at a banana plantation that had this disease already, and we tried to see if we could predict where the banana disease was going to go in the next month or in the next 2 months, so that when people came in at that time to remove these bananas so that they'd stop spreading, they would have a better understanding of which bananas could be infected more, and which areas they could ignore. And that has been a really exciting challenge. I've really enjoyed it. And we didn't actually go there with any medicine directly. That wasn't what I did. Instead, I just looked at where bananas had been infected every month. And by having that data, we could predict where the bananas could be infected at the next time. So then people could come and use their science to remove these diseased bananas from the plantation. So that's one example of how using our maths and using our understanding of how nature works in science, we can actually predict, and we can make a useful make useful decisions and help people by giving them useful information for very important purposes. Next thing that I had the opportunity to do was build a race car. This was something that I did in my first year of university. Every year, all the universities get together, and universities give all the teams money, and we have to use our engineering knowledge that we've learned in our study to make a car and race it around a track against other universities. Now, there were a whole lot of challenges involved. I could never even imagine finishing school and then being a part of a team that made a car. That was crazy. But it was a big team effort, and I might have only worked on a little bit, but the knowledge I gained and the insight I gained through this experience was invaluable. And I really have learned a whole lot more about cars and about teamwork through this experience. So those are some of the exciting things I've done throughout my degree. And they're some of the things that you too can look forward to if you pursue a study in science or technology, engineering or mathematics when the time comes for you to make a decision. Thanks.
Wonderful, Abhishek. Thank you very much. That was fantastic. Yeah.